and I want less. As much as we are going further and further into more tech, the less they have, the better it is, because very few of them are genuinely useful and very few of them are executed well. So
Yeah.
ADAS nahi chahiye. We have been recommending regularly that if you cannot buy if you can buy a variant without ADAS, go for it.
Yeah.
And most recently, the example with the 3XO with its ADAS and its everything else, all those intimations and the warning chimes and everything. I don't want to live with that, and for me, that is a deal breaker. Somebody may say that, "अरे ठीक है, क्या बात है, आवाज ही तो कर रहा है, beep कर रहा है," but it's so painful. It just eats into the driving experience.
Yeah.
I don't want it. That's not what a car is supposed to do to my driving experience.
Yeah.
So it cannot work that way.
No.
So anything to do, and we are using electronics more and more with our drivetrains and everything, the basic hardware has to be great for
Correct.
the experience to be great.
Correct.
And an example of this is like previously with the Hyundai DCTs. I would not buy them. Not because, people are worried about reliability and stuff like that. They were not a DCT experience. It wasn't good enough. It was not. It was, everybody is going towards dual clutches because efficiency is going to get better with dual clutches. And that is key to everyone because emissions matter. So that's where the real impact is going to be.
Right.
But the dual clutch experience was, it was not even as good as the torque converter.
There's a duh clutch transmission.
Oh, good one. It was 100%. It was like, huh? Then it would come. It was really sad. So, you look at that, no matter what you do with everything else around it, but if the gearbox itself is slow.
Correct. What can the software do?
Yeah. And in that case, I would have picked an IMT any day over the dual clutch, saying that it's okay, I will. So that case, is that a deal breaker? It being slow? Yes, it is for me.
Yeah.
Because when I'm paying money for that gearbox,
It better work.
Yeah, it better work. I'm paying less for that IMT. It's simpler. You have to put in some work, but it's doing what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And that's the bottom line. Is it doing what the bike does as per my expectations?
Correct.
That I think becomes the filter for it matters or it doesn't.
Yeah.
If it's meeting my expectations of how I wanted to behave, because then you'll enjoy it.
Yeah.
It'll engage you.
Yeah,
it'll drive you.
Yeah, exactly, Kartik. If a car doesn't do what you expect it to do in terms of how it drives and how it feels to drive, then the world's best AC is of no consequence.
Absolutely.
You're going nowhere with that car.
When the Veyron came out, we went and drove it in
Mulsanne.
Mulsanne. So this was the Veyron, first car, 1,000 horsepower, insane, 1,200 horsepower. Went there, drove it, came back. I was all the respect for the engineering that has gone into creating that machine. But did that car talk to me?
No.
Not at all. Not at all. Did I ever? I've driven the Lexus LFA. You were also there for that.
Yep.
The car that bombed, nobody really gave a crap about that car. It was nowhere in the legion of supercars.
Correct.
But I always think back to the LFA as the car that I would want to have. With that, it had an AMT gearbox effectively.
Yeah.
Its in-car infotainment and everything was so Japanese. You couldn't make sense of it.
No.
It took you time to just understand what's happening.
Yeah.
But which car do I remember?
Correct.
It's the LFA.
Yeah.
I know we didn't drive it on the road, we drove it on the track. From all the other reviews that I read after that, was that, okay, the suspension is not great. Okay, this is not going to be the quickest car. I don't care.
Yeah, I felt great.
It felt fantastic.
Yeah.
And that's, in some form and fashion, that's what we have to look for, no matter whether it's bikes, like scooters, man. I love scooters because they talk to you. I don't know, there's a simplicity. But there are some scooters that just feel anodyne, like they're washing machines. They're just, that they're there to do a job. And the Scooty Zest.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. No, and that's what I was coming to. Look, as an action plan, we have to be able to identify what are the core assets of a vehicle that are non-negotiable. And this non-negotiable is your personal perspective of non-negotiable. If you're an enthusiastic driver or rider, then the way power is delivered, the way a thing turns, how it brakes, these three attributes have to be very, very high order competent. It should make you feel things. And it is okay if it is feeling slightly beyond your reach, because remember, you will also grow. You're not going to be the kind of driver you are today if you buy something sporty. That car will teach you a few things. Whatever rider you are, if you buy something sporty, it will teach you a few things. You know, back in the day when the bikes were limited on the ground, they'd say you should have a Royal Enfield in your life once. RD350 is when I was buying. I said, why? He said that bike has such complicated handling that to be able to make it dance to your tune, you have to become better as a rider. So will you enjoy riding it? Perhaps not. It's not your kind of bike. But you should really ride a Royal Enfield. I said, why? I said, you'll become a better rider for it. Because a lot of your input is required to make that generation's Royal Enfield work.
Okay.
In the same way, you can buy a 390 Duke. And if I could guarantee that you'd never have a crash, or at least not a serious one, you'd learn a lot from that motorcycle because it demands skill from you. It will not let you relax. It will not let you ride it casually, which is why we are so afraid to recommend that bike without asking 30 questions about who are you first.
Correct.
Whereas the 250 Duke doesn't pose this challenge. The chassis is the 390 chassis, not even operating anywhere close to its limit. So you can't really upset it. The engine is a sweetheart and a non-KTM engine, effectively, for all practical purposes, right? So it's easy to recommend this bike. So 3 points we've talked about: engine, cornering, braking. These 3 have to clearly meet your agenda. If your agenda is I want to chill with my family, it should meet that agenda. If the idea is I want to be enthusiastic and have fun with it, it has to meet that agenda. Whatever your personal agenda is, it has to do those things. These are non-negotiable because these are very hard to fix later.
What gave you the idea that we talk about cars and bikes? We talk about physical health, mental health, family, relationships, travel, and a lot more. Head on to the main MotorInc channel and catch up on all of that, plus cars and bikes.